Boom. And it looks like just like that, we may be up for... Wait, where's Jason? I'm not supposed to be here alone. Oh, how you doing, Jason?
I'm doing great.
Great, he's doing great. This is our second show together, Jason. What was it? 3 weeks ago, or was it 2 weeks ago? I can't remember.
I think it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
time flies.
let's I'll toast to that. Wait, where's the camera? I'll toast to that. Two more weeks and maybe a little bit longer. So
Cheers, man. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
cheers. Thank you very much
Cheers.
for coming back. If you
Thank
guys
you.
remember, at the moment we just a quick reminder: Jason is a professional photographer here in Japan, and he has decided to join me, and we're going to try to do, I guess, what is going to be a maybe homework heavy, maybe a what else? Homework heavy photography podcast that's not always about the tech, not always about the homework, a little bit about the feels.
Yeah, the feels and the fun, and just kind of like maybe what the subliminal is calling us to.
Yes.
To
Okay. Well, that's
behind
great.
the camera.
Okay. I don't even know what subliminal means, but I'll go there with you. But by the way, so we talked like last week about, I think it was last week, what could we do this podcast about? And I think Bokeh came up, and both of us seem to be kind of excited about the topic of bokeh.
Yeah, for sure. I know it's something that has been near and dear to me, but actually, I don't think about it a whole lot. I'm always in it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not like this
Well,
constant
actually, I
thing
don't
like,
know.
oh,
What does it mean you're in it?
well, I'm trying to achieve like a certain look
All
all
right.
the time. And it's just, I
Okay.
just sort of in that moment, like all the time. But then when you approached me about this, I was like, oh yeah, I'm trying to achieve certain things
Yeah.
that I'm not really thinking about a whole lot. I just
Right.
kind of doing it.
Right. Okay. I understand
Yeah.
that. And so for anyone who might be watching this later, or if anyone's sneakily in there at the moment, bokeh is kind of like how the elements of an image that are not in focus look. Now, some people say there's more or less bokeh, but it just means how things are defocused. Right? Am
Correct.
I correct? Okay.
You are correct.
And so the image, that's kind of an intro to all this. I don't know if I can make that bigger or not. Whatever. Maybe I can't. And that doesn't matter. That sort of thing where you see in focus, like the little knots on the tree
Yeah.
trunk, and then behind it, everything sort of fades into, I want to say, a glorious amount of defocus. This is a
Yeah.
beautiful lens taken with a beautiful camera back in, I believe this was in New Zealand. And yeah, so... And we're going to talk about that. We will be talking about what lenses create what sort of bokeh. But before we do that, before we get into the nitty gritty of why I think bokeh matters and the matters about bokeh, I do want to ask, I want to talk just a little bit of hardware stuff. Now, I know that you're not a Fujifilm user.
Oh, but they look so good. And
They
the images are so good. Like everything behind and in front and oh yeah.
Okay. Well, there's Fuji. I like my Fujifilm cameras. I've had a complicated relationship with Fujifilm just because the autofocus is nowhere near as good as something like from Olympus or Canon or Nikon. Apparently, Panasonic's moving autofocus might be on par with Fujifilm. In other words, you got the blinding fast DSD or DFD blinding fast on single point where you don't have to follow the action. But when it comes to following action, from what I hear about Panasonic, it's not quite as good as whatever the autofocus mechanism they have in Canon, Nikon, Sony, etc. But that's the same thing with Fujifilm. Once things move, it's like
it's a whole different ball game, so to speak.
Oh yeah, they can't track or anything like that. But recently we got some news, and I'm really excited about this news because the Fujifilm mount has for years basically had only Fujifilm lenses. Of course, right from the beginning, they had a deal with Zeiss, and Zeiss made a couple of lenses that basically filled out what at the time was a pretty blank Sony Nex system. They didn't have a lot of lenses, but now they do, of course, have loads. And so besides Zeiss and just a couple of others that just used the mount but didn't use any of the protocols, we now have got Tamron, we got whatever I have, Tokina, we got Sigma evidently are coming in. But this week I saw, and I'm just going to go over to the article. Am I doing this right? Just a moment. Nathan, you're supposed to be prepared. I am prepared. Mm-hmm. This is preparation. Fuji rumors. We're going to scroll down here. Oh, I better share the screen, eh? Just a moment, guys. I know what I'm doing. But it's exciting stuff here. I'm going to remove this bad boy here. I know what I'm doing. Stop screen. Share.
I have a number of friends that shoot Fuji, and they just love them. They just, I'm connected with these street photographers all over the world, and we have this daily conversation. And they shoot Fuji, and they love them. So it's nice to hear what they have to say, as you as well.
There's some good stuff there, man. There's definitely some good stuff there, and it's only getting better. However, let's see. We're just gonna scroll down here, guys. Tamron has got something exciting coming out. Hey, I can't go down. These ads, eh? Just a moment, guys. Right there. Next page. There. Look at that. While Sigma sleeps, Tamron confirms 3 more Fujifilm X mount lenses coming. And they are the 11 to 28. So if you know your if you think in micro four thirds terms, I think in micro four thirds terms that would be something like 8.
It's double.
Or double? No, because micro four thirds is double to 35 millimeter, and this is APS-C, so it's only like 1.2 difference between micro four thirds. So it's probably like 8 or 9 to like 17 millimeter, something like that. But that's a super wide zoom, and it's f2.8, which, again, for anyone that isn't so doesn't know so much about cameras, f2.8 is a large aperture, and it's a zoom, which means that if you want to get bokeh, if you want to get blurriness in the background, it's a little bit easier. You can do it with small apertures as well, but you have to be a little bit more careful about how you take things. And of course, at 17 to 70, which is from the wide angle to pretty good distance.
That's pretty awesome. Now, here's a question for you. Yeah. Do we know if that's fixed or variable aperture?
I would imagine, from what I understand, Tamron have released, maybe I'm wrong, have already released a 17 to 70 f2.8 for, was it Sony? I don't remember, but it's going to be, for sure, it's going to be fixed. It's going to be
awesome.
It's going to be stable f2.8 on the wide end to f2.8 on the long end. Again, for anyone who doesn't notice,
that's
70
awesome.
millimeters on APS-C at 2.8 will give you beautiful, depending on the lens design, will give you a lot of background blur, which means if you want to take a picture of that beautiful lady in your life and some trees behind her with the right light, it's going to look beautiful. And of course, on the 17 exactly. And even the 17 millimeter lens or end where you want to sit here, if you're going to do a live stream, you can end up blurring the background quite a bit. So that's good. That is what I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, it's a topic for discussion with my buddies across the world. I'll see what they have to say. I'm sure they already know about all this stuff already, so that's kind of cool.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing. What's kind of cool is that a lot of these mounts, there's not a lot of APS-C mounts out there, and APS-C again is like 1.5 or 2.5 times smaller than, I can't remember, 1.5 times smaller than full frame or 35 millimeter, or 2 if you just take the area wise, it's 2.25, whatever it is. Multiplication of 1.5, 2.25 times smaller. Micro four thirds is literally exactly four times smaller. So you can just take 4 centers and stack them up and get a 35. So doing the math is a little bit fun, but it's great. We can basically share on Fujifilm the same type of lenses that are also on the Nex and possibly on the Nikon APS-C cameras. And we used to get left out. And what's great, Tamron's going to be a little bit cheaper, but my guess is because they have good autofocus motors, if you have a Fujifilm lens and you go in like this, it's gonna step like this. But the one I have is a Tokina, it's a little bit smoother, and you come back out and it'll be smoother. and the Tamron will probably even be better than this. So
nice.
I'm
I
excited.
don't even want to attempt that on the Panasonic.
The Panasonic, it'll be a little bit slower on that, but of course you're gonna have just a body that's way better built for video. Like, I can't control anything. If I go to my webcam application here, by the way, you don't have to, like, it used to be with Fujifilm, you had to get like HDMI out and all that. But now there's this little app, you plug it in, make sure your computer is connected to the Fujifilm via USB, and you can change a whole bunch of settings on it, but you can't change your aperture. You cannot change your shutter speed. So exposure, it's all just straight, like, it is what you get. So I think it's probably 1.4. I can't make this, I can't make the things in the background any more focused than they are now. So I'm stuck there.
Oh, that's cool. You know, as actually an interesting choice here, deciding what lenses to use for our cast here, because I've got a great 1.4 25 millimeter, which is 50 millimeter in full frame. I had that on the camera.
You'd have to sit quite far back, wouldn't you?
But the cool thing is that I've got a lot of room behind me, or behind the camera. So basically, like, that would have been a-okay. But I actually didn't know until we're starting tonight if my mic would pick me up enough, because I know when I'm shooting video for myself and for my YouTube stuff, it's like I just can't do that. I have to be closer to the camera. So I'm actually using we'll speak in full frame terms. I'm using a 40 millimeter right now instead of the 50, which you know, it's at 1.7. So anyway,
how far away are you from the camera then? Can you touch it with your arm?
I'm touching it right now, so it's an arm's length.
And here, I'll touch my camera. Here, put your hand up next to the camera lens, just to. Okay. I don't know what we're doing here. Well, that's it. I'm shooting with a 23 millimeter, which would be like 35. Oh, well, we're basically shooting the same. It's the same thing, basically. All right. That's why our hands look the same. Okay, well, that's cool, man. Bumps. Does your focus? Wait, no, put it up. Does it focus? Wait, mine's. Oh man.
Well, no, I gotta do my little.
Well, you bring it back a little bit. Oh, that's not bad. It's not good, but it's all right. All right. Well, there we are. There we are. We got the.
I don't mess with it, man.
Well, we're not going to be talking about defocused foreground for much longer, unless, actually, you know what? Looking through a couple of your images, I have noticed that you have chosen
1 or 2, right?
Yeah, some defocused foreground, and it was pretty good stuff. Before we're going to be talking about the images. Jason has selected 18 bokeh images. Some, again, defocused foreground, some defocused background, and I have. Looks like I got 14. I actually had a couple more I wanted to share, but I think we have enough. But before we get there, I want to ask you, Jason, there's lots of different types of bokeh. Like, for instance, there's bokeh with the dark sides. There's bokeh that's swirly. There's bokeh that explodes out of the center. There's bokeh that collapses from the outside into the center. There's bokeh that gives cat's eyes. There's bokehs that gives triangle eyes on the sides. There's loads of different bokeh. There's bokeh that shows the aperture shape, where it's like 8 blades or round or whatever. Do you have a preference, and why?
I actually don't have a preference. Mostly because I've chosen my gear, and I take what my gear gives. Okay. So I'm actually I'm using particular lenses for different occasions. So I used to use the 25 the 50 millimeter 1.4 very, very often, because that 1.4 is just gives us this beautiful separation. But what's happening is that I like wider lenses, so I'm down to 30.
30.
And I really like just getting out and about with that. I still like the separation. It's 1.7.
Right.
And so it's not that much difference, but I receive what I'm given. So, I do like, on my film cameras, I have some really old Canon. I have a really old Canon lens. That's a 1.8. That is just, it's got this, it's almost this barreled goodiness. And the bokeh isn't circular. It's sort of this, it's like an oval. It's very, very interesting.
Interesting. So is that for the FD mount, or what is that?
That's for the, it is a Leica thread mount which I have an
Ooh.
adapter to fit the M.
Right. Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so the
That's one that you
vintage
showed
is
last time.
cool. Yeah, the vintage is cool. And I have a Voigtlander as well, 28. That's a f2 that, I have to work a little harder to get that separation, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to that one for, intense bokeh. So,
Yeah.
but regardless, yeah, no, I just take what I'm given.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Yeah,
How about you?
well, that's the thing on forums, for instance. If you're talking with people on the forums, there's a lot of kind of purists and like, bokeh doesn't matter. What should matter
Right.
is just your composition. And you know what? And that's right. That's absolutely right. And there's other people who are like, if you rely on bokeh, you basically don't have to have good composition. That's also right. That's also right. However, you can have good composition and nice bokeh. And I don't.
You are
Listen,
correct.
I'm not the best photographer out there. I know that I have an eye for certain things, and part of that eye, not all the time, is to add in. Well, here's the thing: if you walk out the door right now with glasses, especially if you have glasses or contacts or your eyes are good, everything's in focus all the time. But when you have a camera lens, you focus on something. Some things are going to be out of focus. In other words, when you
Yeah.
take an image showing defocus or showing bokeh, you're showing something that doesn't exist in nature. You're putting your mark on it, and you're putting the hardware's mark on it. And there's something unique about that. I remember reading a comment many years ago. I don't remember which forum it was on. And yes, I do spend too much time in forums, although I'm trying to wean myself off of it. And what this comment was like, I like bokeh because it's natural. And immediately I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And I thought about it. I was like, wait a second, but bokeh doesn't really exist in nature. The way that our body interprets it, the way we look at things is not blurry. We see well, of course, if your eyes are really bad, and I just had laser surgery, so I can see, not perfectly, but I can see now. And the way your eye sees, if it's not myopic, if your eye is myopic, then everything is blurry all the time. But if it's not myopic, then that windowsill in front of me is sharp, and so is my keyboard. And there's
Right.
and I can look outside and it's sharp out there, and so the whole world is cut like an X-Acto knife, right? But if you add a little bit of interpretation through a lens, then that's when you get something different.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of
so I
interesting
love my
toy
bokeh.
cameras. Oh yeah, there's a lot of interesting toy cameras too, that really have, limited amount of blades that, create this interesting bokeh as well. So
actually, that's something I wanted to mention as well. Before we start talking about your images, and we'll do your images first, if you want.
Sure.
Or we can do scissors, paper, rock if you don't want to do that. But I like. No, none of the images I selected for this live stream are actually illustrate the sort of lenses that I really like. Mainly because I was sorting through my images last night, and I have got like 40,000 images on my computer. So I thought if I were to focus on these ones with the interesting aperture blades, it would be good. It'd be illustrative, absolutely, for this live stream, but it wouldn't. I don't know. I want to focus on ones that I also just kind of feel otherwise attracted to, because a lot of people don't like the aperture blades, but I love them. I got to be honest. When I see, my favorite is actually symmetrical aperture blade design. So instead of 5 blades, you get 6. And why is that?
Yeah.
The other reason is sun stars are 6 stars instead of 12. If you got an odd number of blades, when the sun comes in and you stop the blade down or the aperture down, you get double the amount of rays. And I prefer a simpler ray pattern, if that makes sense. But when bokeh comes in, I like to see 6 blades in there if I stop down.
I see. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's kind of preamble. We'll get in here. Oh, by the way, I always mess this man's name up. Viritavis of Lusitania. It's good to see you again. Yes, it has been a long time. I haven't been doing the MD. He used to faithfully come on my live streams.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, thanks for coming back to see us. Last time I saw him on was when Garrett was on, and we were doing live streams about Minidisc, and so it's good to see you again. We may do that again on my other channel. Anyway, if I may, I would like to look at your bokeh, and I want to.
Let's do it.
When we're looking at your bokeh, your images, I want you to tell me, and I want later on when I do it, I want us to focus on why we wanted to defocus or use the camera in such a way to defocus this element or that element, why we went for the bokeh rather than, showing more of the image in sharpness.
Yeah.
And, just a little bit, anything else that you remember about the image, I want to hear it. So what I'm going to do right now is in the background, I am going to open up your images here. And let me just check that I have everything closed. Right. Okay. These are Jason's images labeled -102 P1.
You got it, man.
Very
straight off the portable hard drive.
All right, let's see here. I'm gonna. All right. I'm just gonna share the screen now, as long as I don't screw up the. Okay, stop that screen there, and now share a new screen. All right. Get ready for some Bokeh-licious stuff here. In 1, 2, 3, go. All right, this is our top image today. Looks like a bit of coffee. Tell me about this image. Tell me about the lens you used and why it is that you kind of chose this composition.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's see here. I have got boom, boom, boom. I am looking at my screen as well, trying to bring up my EXIF data. Okay, great. So out and about in Tokyo, obviously, I'm shooting with friends, going to a coffee shop, and I'm sort of this guy that looks for this. I'm always looking for depth of field. I'm always looking for these lines, or could be contrasts. But for this one, I am using, I will speak in micro four thirds terms now. So specifically for anyone who's on Olympus or Panasonic, et cetera, I'm shooting with my 25.
Right.
And at f1.4.
Okay.
My shutter speed is at 1/80th of a second, and ISO 200. So basically, I'm really close to the front window. I know that I can achieve anything without having a high ISO. And basically, I'm focused right on that front beam. I want people to sort of see like, the rest of the coffee shop or the rest of the selection. But at a certain point in my mind, I'm thinking that's not important. I'm looking for this front container. I'm not focused on the middle one. I'm focused on the one that's closest to the camera. And really that's it. And I'm just letting the rest of the, the image sort of speak for itself.
Do you ever, so in this sort of image, there's some people that, like, for instance, you could shoot the next one or even the middle one, and that would give another sort of, would give a very different stylistic look to this thing. Correct. Do you ever do that? Do you ever shoot in the middle? And for what reason would you do that?
I do. I was out this past weekend with a friend, and I found some cones, and it's the latest image on my Instagram, and basically, I shot. I didn't shoot the cone that was closest to me. I wanted to just sort of, get a little blur in front and a little blur in back, and I just sort of wanted to show, there is some conscious effort going on there. So it's not every time, but I still hearken and I still think back to like my teacher in high school. Like he made me focus on the middle one, for the exercise, but so sort of in the back of my mind, I'm still like thinking of that technical type thing that I learned way back when. But for here, it's just it's just all about seeing this first jar.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed here, what I kind of like about this one is, I'm guessing it looks like to the right and behind the jar is your coffee drippers or whatever. What do you call those things?
Pour over or something. God, what is that?
Well, you seem to go to more boutique coffee places. I figure you would know the lingo. But yeah, what I like is the first one, you can tell what it is. And after that, it just kind of becomes impressionistic all the way back. And that is the power of bokeh, where it basically, it describes one thing. And even if you have a repeat pattern, like you've got 1, 2, 3, 5 of these these coffee vats or whatever that are holding different types of coffee, and you know what they look like because you know for sure, or you guess that they're facsimiles of the first one going all the way back.
Right.
At the same time, each one looks different going back because it loses focus and it takes on the aspect, the stylistic aspect of the lens. So I think that's great. The I noticed it looks like an aspherical lens. Let's see if I can go in here. Looks like am I actually going in here, by the way? Does it show that?
Let's see here.
Am I zooming in?
You are zooming in.
Okay, cool. Can you see my mouse?
Yeah.
Okay, so right now I'm kind of right here. This part here, you can see there's kind of like some onion stuff. Does that bother you, or like some people like the onion in aspherical lenses, some people don't like the onion? There's another one here. So does that ever bother you, or have you ever thought about it?
No, it doesn't. I figure, like, to me, it's just part of this, this artistic aspect of it. A lot of people, a lot of people don't think photography is art, but a lot of people do, and I sometimes do. And to me, like, once again, I feel like this is the lens I've chosen, and this is what I'm going to get, and I like it.
You brought up.
I'm easy to please, right?
You brought up also something that I'm not famous for it, but I'm one of those people that doesn't necessarily consider photography art. However, there's definitely an artistic and well, no, not art. I'm one of those people, and I would imagine that you and I would take opposite ends of this, and that's fine. That I think photography is. I'm kind of a purist. I'm not an artist. I don't claim to be an artist. I don't claim to be a creative. But in my brain, if someone's like, Nathan, what is creative? What is creation? I think more like painting or sculpture.
Right.
Like, because you're actually forming something in real life. And so for me, I think of photography more as just taking effects of something you see. And that's a horrible way to describe it. But there's beauty that can be done in photography, irrespective of the fact that all you really are doing is just like copying something you see. So
I actually agree with you. We're on the same page.
Oh, interesting.
I don't. I feel like it's somewhat artistic, is what I should say. I honestly don't feel like, I'm not an artist behind the lens. Definitely not.
well then I may have actually asked the guy who doesn't have as many different opinions as I do, which means, are we facsimiles of each other?
I'll drum up some.
Yeah, okay. We'll find something to disagree about in the future. Let's go on to the next image. Also, one more thing. If you could just one. This is why I was like, I wanted to add more images, but I don't see. Nathan, you're spending too much time in a single image. I like, see, if you look here at this orange bokeh, it looks like the bokeh is a gumdrop, eh? Right here, kind of. It's fatter on the bottom and smaller on the top. And that's kind of like one of those ones where the bokeh at the sides might even be more triangular, which is interesting. At first, I didn't like that style, but the longer I look at it, I like that character. So I don't know. My opinions are changing on gumdrop shaped bokeh.
Well, on this particular lens, it is stamped Leica. So, the whole Panasonic Leica thing, it's not, it's just Leica branded. I honestly feel like, okay, it might be a wee bit superior than the regular 25 millimeter Panasonic, but the Leica branded lens that I have that you see here, I expected a little more, and I think I got it.
Do you have it in a reachable distance from you right now?
I do not,
because that is sometime next stream, maybe show it off. It's a whether or not they're different under the hood or anything else, or better or not, they're beautifully designed.
Yeah,
they have the same fonts as the Leica ones, which if you use a Fujifilm lens, it's like they're like, what can we use for a font? You're like, Nathan, are you talking about fonts on a camera lens? Yes, I am, because if you get a whole bunch of lenses on a shelf, not only do those squarish ones from Leica look different, you can see them better from a farther distance. They use color coding for the f-stop and for different one from the lens designation, and it's just more readable. There's a reason why they chose that. And the Fujifilm one, it's like, what's that famous one that everyone uses on newspapers? Helvetica or whatever it's called.
Oh, Helvetica,
it's not Helvetica, I don't think. Although I think
newspapers might be Times Roman.
Right. Okay, yeah. Okay, it's not the newspaper one. It might be then Helvetica. And I remember reading Fuji rumors. It was like, they chose Helvetica because they're good at design. It's like, it's just, it's like everyone chose that. I remember back in 2012 to 14, it was like Helvetica. Everyone chose it. It's like all the websites suddenly look the same, and Fujifilm using the same. I don't know. Anyway, the Leica ones, they just put more effort into the creation of it.
The build is great.
Yeah, for sure. Next image. Ooh.
All right. Oh yeah. So this image, let's see here. This is, I'm shooting with the same lens. I am actually shooting at 1.4. I'm actually shooting with a faster speed, which I probably shouldn't have. But my aim wasn't necessarily to capture the color of this gate that's right in front of me, this railing that's right in front of me. I was on an overpass looking down at the train tracks. So basically, that was not my aim. And if I were to have edited a little bit more, you would have been able to see, the texture of it, the color of it. This is ISO 800. I really wanted it to just be super moody, and for people to just be like, what the hell is this? And I think I accomplished that, because this is one of those things where it's like, it's not art, but it's sort of, in my mind, it's sort of artistic. It's sort of like, what's going on in the background? Well, what is in the foreground? There's something happening here. And I believe when I shot these, I sort of featured them on my website at the time, sort of in a series. So you're walking up this platform, and you're obviously walking over the tracks, and then you're looking down to the tracks, and then the shot is taken. So once again, it's not a very good image, but once again, it was just one of those things where it's like, I'm out, I'm using this lens. It was my go-to for very, very dark setting. It's only ISO 800. And that 1.4, as it lets in so much light. The aperture is huge. So I loved this lens. I still love it, but back then it was literally my go-to.
Well, I noticed. So it looks to me like there's like a screen or something, like not a windscreen. It looks like it's frosted or something like that.
That's correct. It's like a plexiglass or something like that. Yeah. So
that then scatters the light a little bit different too.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying, and so.
Yeah. So I don't feel there's anything special to it, but at the same time, it just shows the features of the lens itself. It shows that I can go out late at night and there's really no light, and it does a good job. So, and it has to do with the camera too, but this lens is a really good lens.
Okay, well, that's great. It's also showing that you got, looks like each image is going to bring in a whole different world too. So let's go on to the next one here.
Great.
Oh, is this close to the last one? Did you take them in the same time or something like that?
No,
this is a theme here.
Completely different side of Tokyo. This is in Shinjuku, and every year in Shinjuku they have this Christmas setup, these Christmas lights or winter lights, et cetera, et cetera. And so basically, this is only an ISO 200. Once again, I'm shooting with the same lens. Wow. Yeah, and it's a 1.4 and a shutter speed of 1/25, 125.
Yeah.
So this is like a perfect morning, sort of settings, when you go out in the morning or, go out in the evening or whatever. But late at night, this is an interesting thing. But, my aim is definitely to not necessarily feature this crazy, subject matter in the foreground. It's also to show this amazing background. And that's literally as you can see, I didn't really meter it for, the foreground. I just wanted to keep this really super dark and moody. And so once again, it's just, sort of a little bit of that artistic flair. I hate using that, but it's kind of a good way to like get
Yeah.
your point across with your images.
Well, check this out here. I'm gonna zoom in again if I can do this. Let's see here. Up. Check out. So wait, did you say this was the same lens? I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
missed that.
same lens.
Okay. Look at that, man. It's got the gumdrops are really coming out here. Look at that.
That's wild.
That is wild. And it looks like, so, I mean, I wasn't there. I didn't, and I'm sure, I don't know, did you get up close to those lights at all, or did you stay kind of
I
safely back?
think the next shot will show
Okay.
lights a little closer. But yeah, that's really interesting.
Well, look at that. It's like gumdrop with a tight top. It's like a gumdrop with a skirt. This
Yeah.
is some interesting stuff. I want to.
Yeah.
I would like to see what those lights are made of. All right, oh wait.
Yeah,
Let's
for
check out
sure.
check the next image. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I see.
So basically, what are we looking at here? Let me go back. It's the same image, same settings, literally same settings. So I'm not quite as far away from it.
Hmm.
And I honestly just I wanted to, capture this girl taking a similar photo. And that's actually something I like to do. I like to shoot photographers.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. I've
Yeah,
done that too. It also, if you shoot a photographer, it's quite interesting. Then it's like, oh, that's the angle that they were really interested in, and then you're like,
yeah,
and this is the angle. Every photographer is a little bit different, and she's using like a fat aperture Sigma on some sort of like beefy Nikon there. So she,
yeah, for sure. It's just really interesting to me because, the task of, that you gave me to, search for these images, I try to get like a broad sort of spectrum of what we could see, but, just sort of the lights that are on the hanging lights, things that were just bigger and smaller, what was going on sort of behind that red railing to me was just really, really interesting.
yeah.
And, so
A lot of these light displays in Japan kind of remind me a little bit of the movie National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. They just go all out, just lights upon lights upon lights.
in the department stores.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes it's like, okay, do we have to go that far? And it's like, how much relation does the Japanese, person or culture have with whatever we think of Christmas anyway? But I mean, it's like it's
Yeah,
sometimes it's like, wow, that's kind of nice, and then sometimes it's like, why? That's going crazy. But yeah,
it's over the top. What's the next image? I'm really
let's check it
intrigued.
out. Oh, now this is moody.
Okay. Okay, this is cool because this is with a 20 millimeter now. So and in full frame speak, that's 40.
Yeah,
So 20
that's
20
the what lens you're
millimeter.
using right now, right? For the live
That's
stream.
correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And this is at 1.7 and 1/125th of a second. And
Yeah.
still, oh, I'm sorry. And this is at 2500 ISO. So very, very, very dark. So the ISO is 2500. And I'm really interested in textures.
Yeah.
I'm so into it. And this particular part of town is Yuracho. There's a lot of dining. People go to these places after work and they dine and they have a good time. They party and they do whatever. And so there's always like, especially after the years and after the decades and after the generations, there's just crap everywhere on the walls, on the tracks, so I wanted to sort of get that, and at the same time not detract from it. But that's why I wanted everything out of focus. That's when the bokeh really mattered to me, because the foreground was, even though the coffee bins on the first photo were very important to me, this really just shows the grit and the grain and the makings of Tokyo right here. Maybe some people would say, well, this background is distracting because all I'm looking at is that big lit up beer mug or whatever. But really, I wanted to have some sort of focus on the foreground, and it's important to me to have a really good separation, and I think this particular lens does a good job. And what is that bokeh looking like compared to the other ones up close?
Oh, up close. Yeah, let's check it out.
Yeah. Kind of interested in that.
Let's go to the back here.
Yeah.
Wow, this I don't have a pad anymore to scroll, so I have to do this with my number
No
pad.
worries.
Oh yeah, their gumdrops are coming back, but they're almost softened, like if you have an in-ear earphone, like an in-ear earphone ear tip, like a silicone one. That's
Yeah.
I'm liking, I'm liking this quite a bit here.
Yeah.
But this image actually, of all the images I've seen so far, this I'm not sure what you're going to think about me when I say this. I'm liking this the most. A number of reasons. I do like how the bokeh shows here, but I like the balance where you have the beer, then you have a slightly out of focus sign here, and then on the other side, kind of in a triangle, although you could look at it as a trapezoid as well, because there's another round sign there as well. They're kind of making this in the center, this kind of center. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to focus on but my eye keeps being drawn to the Ginza or whatever that top one is with the light stream going through it. And the light stream is, of course, going from out of focus to like sharp focus, showing all the dents and stuff on this. It's like one of those images, like, well, what is it about? I don't know, but it's just kind of visually appealing.
You're 100% correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, totally, completely. And to me, this image is sort of like broken in half. We got things going on the right,
that's true.
Things going on the left. So yeah, that's the technical side of Jason going on right now.
I also like the grain looks great on this camera. Looks really good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. After a while, if I were to go any higher than that, if I were to go any higher on my ISO, it starts to get a little intense. But the Panasonic G9 does a pretty good job, and I like this. I like this camera. Actually, you know what? Let me look. This was shot with the GX7 Mark III. I only had this camera for a very short period of time.
Is that the one looks like a retro camera, like the pen?
No. It just like a little. It's just sort of rectangular. It was very small, but at the same time, I didn't like the ergonomics of it. And that's really important to me. And so I shot with it for a few months, and then actually just traded it for this one.
Cool. All right. Well, let's see what you got up next. All right.
Okay, cool.
Is this person you know?
This is my lovely wife.
Okay.
And this is shot with the same camera and the same lens. f1.7. This shutter speed is 1/250th of a second. At ISO 400. So once again, a good afternoon, morning setting. Like I could take this out anytime, and to me, I really did want to concentrate on her and in that moment, but I really, really wanted to show the length of this street. This is in Asakusa, and the big temple at the very end, sort of rectangular bit at the end. That's the destination. So once again, like the old cliche saying, "We got tell a story with your photos." Well, you know what? This sort of does. And I wasn't trying, but at the same time, like, to me, I'm always thinking about, how am I placing, people in this or subject matter, the focal point in my viewfinder. And this is on the side. It's just, it goes, boom, that's it. Okay, boom. I've got this going down. Great separation. Love the shot.
Yeah, I'm liking it quite a bit, and that area in case anyone has not been to that area, it's actually kind of cool, because while you've got the neon lights, you still have what I imagine is just basically an evolution of what would have been Japan, say 200 or 300 years ago, where people would be streaming in this area, be buying stuff, and then visiting the temple. And I think it's a great showcase of what can be in the modern world that also pays homage to the past. So it's great.
You're 100% correct.
Yeah,
there's a lot of great history about this part of town too. People should check it out. Asakusa.
That's a hard word to say.
Asakusa.
Okay. Asakusa. Okay. Asakusa. All right. Let's go. Oh,
all right.
Wow, man.
Yeah. So I believe what are we looking at here? This is in Shibuya. So basically, when you're in Shibuya, there's a little tiny yokocho. I can't remember what it's called. Maybe it's, I don't think it's Pisali. I can't remember, but regardless, it's super tiny little yokocho with little place to eat and drink.
Right.
And on the sort of the outside of that, next to the tracks, are sort of like a little tiny road. And there's these cool lanterns, these cool things. So basically, I'm at the far end of it, and just wanted to shoot this sign. It was just
Colors
this
are
weird,
crazy, man.
yeah, just this weird. It's been there a long time, so this the paint is faded, and there's a lot going on. So once again, I'm looking for those textures, but I will really want some great separation, because if I'm having all sorts of things in focus, then it sort of takes away from exactly what I want people to see, which is this weird sign. This is shot with moving into my favorite lens, the Leica branded 15 millimeter.
Okay.
And that translates to 30 millimeter in full frame.
Leica branded, he says every time. Yeah.
Leica branded. So, they had a hand in this. The build is a little bit different. But this is at 1.7. This is at 1/125th of a second at ISO 1000. So, and I sort of have this habit of, shooting around 1/100th or 1/125th, because I know, like, it's just, I don't have to worry about shake. I don't have to worry about too much. So I can achieve the shot with that speed and with that aperture, and then I sort of go with the ISO, and so.
That was a great image, man. The lighting way back there with the bluish green is it's like it's submarine, and then it comes to like this warmth on the sign, and this is great.
Yeah. And just for the people out there watching, I'm not one of those people that edits my photos really intensely. So I know there's like a lot of people, a lot of photographers that really make this super blue or this Blade Runner-esque type setting. That's not my jam. I really like what they do, but it's personally not what I try to achieve. I have done a little bit of that, but at the end of the day, this is the type of work that is sort of the extreme when it comes to my punchiness in colors.
It's a nice neutral bouquet there too, and like I said, I'm not much of a neutral bouquet fan, but it's just there's no, sometimes when you look at images, I feel kind of a weight, not like I feel pressured like spiritual or something, but it's like often it ends up being that the bouquet is a little bit, there's something that jars me, and no, this image is just wow. It's great.
Thanks.
It's great.
Thank you.
Wait, what? Oh, sorry. The hard disk is like, wake up, Nathan. You spent too long looking at this. So, just a moment.
No problem.
Yeah, I'm all my images on a separate hard disk. I should have.
That's quite all right.
Yeah, it's a great. I mean, it's also, last time we were chatting, it was like interesting thing about Tokyo is you'll have like cables. You'll have a cafe, or you have a shop underneath an expressway that didn't used to be an expressway, that didn't used to be a train section, and then like it's all kind of like jumbled together, and that's a kind of a special element of a lot of large cities in Japan. Oh, here we are. Now we are going on to
okay, great.
Temple.
Okay, great. This is one of those things where I just really enjoy this depth of field so much, and we're nice. Going back to that 25 millimeter Leica lens. You're shooting with that 1.4 at 1/100th of a second at ISO 100, and it's a fairly sunny day, and I love everything about this. So basically, for the people out there that wonder what these are, you get your fortune at the temple or the shrine, and if it's a fortune that is not in your favor, you twist it up and put it on a certain area, a certain wire, or a certain designated piece of something at the shrine of the temple, and so hoping that the gods will look favorably upon you and hope for a better wish. better luck. Anyway, so I want to just sort of show what's going on here, and it's not about the destination in the background. It's not about really seeing the steps. It's not about what's going on in the back. It's just about sort of the there's a lot of these put up.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of them, and basically it's sort of this figurative type of image. I really need people to know that this is there's a lot going on here in people's people's fortunes. So yeah,
it's also in terms of bokeh again, it looks like this is kind of a sweet spot for that lens, where you got very, very gentle cat's eyes right at the end, or not even cat's eyes. It looks like a elongated or collapsed, I'm not sure what to say, like a UFO right in the back. It's nice, gentle stuff where you got
and it's not lights. It's sort of like this white subject matter. So it's nice. Interesting to think about too, when we're trying to what is bokeh, so I tried to bring you some images that weren't necessarily at night or whatever. So
no, it's great. Also, like it looks like a bird has left its own offering on these poles as well. You see the seeds right above the and also just image wise, you got this white kind of road of these fortunes entering in here, and then you got kind of a dark block here, and then it goes into, there's the white of the sun or light coming in behind the altar or whatever in the back, and so it's kind of like road leading into what amounts to some sort of perhaps religious experience. So it's a cool cool image.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
All right, let's see if we can. Oh, come on, computer, wake up. This one took a little while to go on. Sorry about that, man.
No worries.
This should be on the same hard disk. Let's see if we got. No, we don't have any comments, and that's all right. It's funny. It could be that we actually have like Veritas usually is like looking the whole time. So right now the counter that we see, who knows if it's accurate or not. But we're gonna work up those numbers. But at the moment, let's see if let's see, where is it?
While you're doing that, I'll go into the. Oh, great. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay.
So this, what are we looking at here? We are looking at, we're going back to the 15 millimeter at 1.7. So 1/125th of a second, and ISO 500. And so basically, this is just literally just one of those. It's not one of those artistic pieces. It's just and a great example of life in Japan. You're at Shinjuku Station. You have, I would say, probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 3 of these bike racks. So it's this huge under the road bike parking, and that's part of Japanese, not culture but society.
Right.
And so anyway, I just wanted to have just this nice sharp foreground and show what's going on here. So we're not looking at these orbs or these gumdrops, but we are sort of softly showing what kind of bokeh we have, which is literally just out of focus. And I like what this particular lens, this 15 millimeter, delivers. It's my go-to now. It's one of those where I can get close. I can go close and feel good about what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, from my end, let me see here. By the way, I've just copied the files over to my local hard disk, so I'm going to restart this after this one. Not the whole stream, just so that we don't have those layovers, delays, or whatever. But yeah, no, this is an image that shows Japan. I mean, one of the first times I came to Japan, I was like, wow, they got car parks for bicycles, and
Man.
But it's also kind of cool here. It shows it like I don't know if it's in a garage or whatnot, but it shows just how dedicated this thing is. Where you've got your electricity, you got your lamps, you got everything, and also there's the clean aspect to it, where obviously Not every place
It's
in
super.
Japan is clean, but there's a lot of places that are quite clean. And also with a car park like this, you can tell that there's some care taken to make sure that
Yeah.
those bicycles are treated well
Yeah.
as someone's personal. They're cheap. A lot of these bicycles are like $100, and they're crappy made in China things. But that is your transportation to the station.
Yeah.
So it's
And
yeah.
and we're talking about the largest train station in the world.
Yep, that's right.
So
What is it?
in
What is it? 1 million or something like that? People go through it a day, is what I hear, or one
yes,
way or something like that.
it's
Yeah,
it's a it's an incredible amount.
yeah,
So when you think about the cleanliness and the availability for you to do something like this, I sort of just wanted to, show that through this image.
yeah. Well, it's great. What
Thank
I'm
you,
gonna do is
sir.
I'm gonna I'm gonna close this preview and then open it back up on my local hard disk so that
Great.
just a moment. All right, all right. Let's go onto the local hard disk here. And I think, just a moment, I think this is the local hard disk. Yes, so I'll close that one off. And Jason, let's open you back up. And let's see, I think I'm gonna have to open her back up here. Share
No
screen.
problem.
Nathan, you're forgetting how to do all this.
It's all
Okay,
good,
we're
man.
back here.
People understand.
People understand.
Okay,
They
great.
understand.
Cool. They do.
All right, next image.
All right.
Whoa, whoa.
Okay. This is cool. Okay, so part of this this whole experience and part of this whole this shot is I have a go-to travel lens.
Okay.
Okay, this is not a go-to night photography lens. So this is my go-to travel lens. This is not a special lens at all. So this is the 14 to 140 millimeter.
Okay.
3.5 variable f-stop lens. It's not a very special lens, but it offers really great separation. If you're far away and zoom in like this, you're getting really great separation. And it's about how you use this gear. And I love the bokeh on this. I love the fact that I can achieve this with such an inexpensive lens. So I shouldn't say inexpensive. Not a top tier lens. So this is, once again, this is the 14 to 140 millimeter. And I shot this at f5.6. And this is at 1/250th at ISO 200. So it's a variable aperture. So when I zoom in, that aperture changes. And I have to rely on, the lens and the camera to just deliver this. And it's not like I was really close to her at all. This was shot at let me just look here. It'll probably tell me what I shot it at.
He's looking up his exif for anyone that's.
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, I'm looking at
behind
my
the
exif
scenes.
data.
The camera records all the data. Like if you record it at this tiny f-stop, or you record it at this, if it's a zoom, where on the zoom range, and the camera records the ISO and all this. And by the way, Jason keeps mentioning all that because I was like, dude, for this live stream, I'd like you to sort of get all that information. And then he's done that diligently. And then when it comes to Nathan, it's like, Nathan, so what was the, and I'll be like, well, I remember here's the f-stop. And here's, but I unfortunately, you did your homework. Okay. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
So this lens goes from 3.5 to 5.6.
Yeah.
And that's basically like, and this is zoomed in all the way to 140 millimeter.
Man. Wow.
Correct.
That's quite the range on that thing.
Yeah. So in full frame terms, that's 280 millimeters.
Yeah.
So for me, for this particular lens, this is just my travel lens. This is sort of like my, my everyday out and about, like doing whatever lens. And I'm not shooting models for Vogue with this lens. This is a lens that captures stuff like this. And I can count on that to give great separation. And the Bokeh is super soft.
Yeah, it's great.
Those leaves back there, they're not really defined a whole lot. And that's a characteristic, I think, of, the tier of this lens. It's not a top tier lens. It's sort of like in the middle somewhere.
Hmm.
So, I just, regardless, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think is, what do you think is going on here?
Well, bokeh wise, yeah, you're right. It's very soft, and there's no like a spherical sort of onions or anything like that. I mean, it bokeh wise, it looks like a lens you'd buy for the bokeh. Image wise, this girl is like, this is, by the way, for anyone who's not been to Japan, this is the Japanese Princess Leia. She's actually playing Princess Leia on an all Japanese cast. This is how they recast. No, I don't. What is going on here? Is this part of a festival or something?
Yeah, it's part of a really big festival that was
Hmm.
going on, and I'd actually love to send you more photos of the
Hmm.
festival because it goes back to guards, dressed in
Hmm.
traditional
Hmm.
attire with their spears and their swords,
Cool.
and we're in an area that was celebrating. They're sort of celebrating the survival
Hmm.
of their clan
Hmm.
is what it is.
Hmm.
This particular clan retreated to the mountains because
Hmm.
they were defeated in a
Hmm.
battle in war. So they retreated to the mountains, and they're
Hmm.
sort of celebrating their survival,
Hmm.
and it was really really cool. So the girl in the red off the side, she was,
Right.
I don't know the significance, but obviously the two of them and this little girl were
Hmm.
very important in this festival.
Well,
It
there's
was
a good thematic thing also to just
it
sort of
was,
keep in the
it was
back of the
cool.
mind there as well. So cool image,
Yeah,
cool story. I want to see more later on.
yeah.
Whoa,
Right on.
more coffee,
Oh
more
yeah.
coffee.
Yeah. So basically there's a really massive coffee shop down the street from me, and they actually have, the roasters there. There's a lot going on there, multiple stories.
Right.
So basically I asked them, I'm like, can I come in and can I shoot your establishment? And they're like,
Hmm.
of course. So I went in, and there's some tight spaces. So once again, I'm going to that 15 millimeter, and I'm shooting at 1.7,
Right.
1/200th of a second at ISO 100.
Hmm.
And I shot just so many things in here, but this is sort of a typical edit of this setting. I really want to make sure my shadows are fairly dark, but I want some separation going on.
Hmm.
I feel like actually my aperture could have been a little smaller, but this is once again at 1.7.
Right.
Um, I feel like this little light down here in the bottom right is
Hmm.
really interesting. It's got this sort of double, there's something going on there. This
Well, it's probably the
focus.
pane of glass is
Yeah,
reflecting on itself
yeah,
against something that's already probably in a pot light or something like that. It could be there's glass
yeah,
underneath that again that's giving it a triple, is my guess.
yeah. It's really
That's yeah,
wild.
it's
But
cool.
yeah, so anyway, good separation. I probably should have gone for something a little bit more smaller, but regardless, I like this lens. Once again, this whole setting, the coffee shop was pretty great.
Well,
Nice
it's
and
getting
warm tones throughout.
yeah. It's getting me this sort of I'm starting to like I'm starting to get into wider aperture sorry, wider lenses.
That focal length,
And
yeah,
yeah, focal length. And so I'm starting I'm liking your images because they're giving me some ideas. So thank you very much.
yeah,
Also
you got it.
bouquets, yeah, it's just great on this lens. It is
Thanks,
just great. This is
thank
great.
you. Yeah.
Okay, this looks like Japan too.
All right, yeah, yeah, definitely. And there's something interesting about this photo. Once again, the 15 millimeter shot
Hmm,
at 1.7. One Oh, so I shot this faster speed because the wind was blowing.
right.
This is uh, 1/1250th of a
Okay.
second, 1/1250
Yeah.
at 100 ISO.
Hmm,
So, because with the wind, I wanted to make sure this was fairly
yeah.
crisp setting. So, you might see what looks to be like a vignette around it, but
Yeah.
that is not in post. Is actually I tried to create this image in camera where everything is sort of in the lighter part of
Yeah, yeah.
the frame. So everything you see here is just this actual like
Hmm,
darkness. So
hmm,
the edit on this particular piece is Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and you've got some interesting things going on here in the top right. Got some
Hmm.
circular bits. This
Yeah,
really
yeah.
super soft. It fades really well. I feel like the 15 millimeter, this Leica branded 15 millimeter, they do something. They
That's a
put
good
a little,
lens.
yeah, they put a little more effort into what other images I've seen.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, having a good time there.
That is a fun man. Yeah, that's a. I'm liking this lens. I may follow you to think that's kind. I understand why it's your favorite lens. And it's every image I'm getting of it. It's like there's the only thing about this lens that I don't like is something I actually like about it, where it's just everything is just in its place in terms of bokeh style and how it's drawn. It's just like I don't have anything to like really talk. I can't be like, oh, those are cool gumdrops or those are cool like cat's eyes.
Right.
It's just everything. Just it's just like, okay, this is just how the image should be. I
I
don't know. It
think it's
looks great.
probably one of those lenses that's like shows that stuff off at night
Hmm.
for sure.
Hmm. So anyway, cool stuff, man. Cool stuff. Boom.
Arigato.
Okay,
Uh,
we got some foreground bokeh. What's going on here?
yeah. Okay, so a little bit about this
Hmm.
setting. This was actually metered for the very center of
Yeah.
the image.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure the very center of this image is like perfectly, lit, everything. And this is with my 20 millimeter,
Hmm.
and this is at 1.7, 1/250th
Yeah.
at ISO 100. So it's a very, very bright day.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just there was a lot going on, and I'm trying to find that setting where I'm like, you know what? How am I going to make this whole area interesting? Because after a while, it's just kind of the same thing. You're walking around Japan, you see these shrines, you see these temples. It's sort of similar look.
Hmm.
Oh, Jason's got another shot of this shrine. Jason's got another shot of this temple.
Right.
So how do you mix that up? So it was literally um, getting into
Hmm.
um, where people are tying those fortunes up on the wire or
Right.
tying those
Right. Right.
fortunes up, and I'm looking through that, and I like what's happening. I really do, man. It's just that bokeh is so compelling, and it just really, like, to me, even sort of, that piece that's in the middle there, that's sort of
Hmm.
hanging over the banners.
Here. Yeah.
It's nice and soft. Yeah, it's nice and soft, and I feel like it's not it's not this harsh,
Yeah. Yeah.
separation. It's
Hmm.
a nice soft separation. You
Hmm.
might have a little bit of little harshness over here, and it's in the darker area, but I
Okay.
feel like the lens does a good job, and I had a good time with this particular day out.
Oh, it's a good characteristic showing of all this. And I'm gonna say something unrelated here. Up in the upper left there, there's this Triforce logo. I've got a friend who loves Zelda, and if he's
Uh,
not watching this, he'd be like, "Oh my goodness, it's it's not. That's a great image." And yeah, you're right. One of the things I really like though, is, and I actually kind of wish there was more. I wish there were more elements of sort of traditional Japan still left. I'm up in Scuba, and there's like, man, there ain't nothing here that's except every once in a while on the side of a road you see a tiny little Shinto shrine, like a
yeah,
beautiful old tree, and there's a tiny little shrine underneath it. And
that's
then it's like,
cool.
oh yeah, those are some cool stuff. And I wish
Yeah,
there was more of that. And so I appreciate, you know, these sort of things are kind of very quickly being erased from my own country,
mhm,
sort of elements of the traditional culture. And so I like that there's still somewhat surviving here in Japan, and some of it is
yeah.
just is an explosion of this. So that's cool
100%.
stuff.
I'm super proud of this image. So, it's just this is what makes me like enjoy being a
Hmm.
photographer is finding images like this.
Hmm.
So, anyway.
Let's see, just a moment. Did my computer? It's funny. My
No
hard
worries.
disk went to
No
sleep
worries.
again. Sorry about this.
So while you're doing that, I'll
Yeah.
tell the viewers,
Yeah.
basically this is I I literally can't remember what this is, but this is a town near the beach, and you have to walk out to sort of this it's almost an island, and once you get there, the whole island is just comprised of the shrines and temples, and it's just
Hmm.
very cool. And I had a
Yeah.
really good time out there.
Yeah. Well, just a moment here.
No problem.
They We also got a question for you, by the or a comment actually. It's from
Yeah.
Black Phoenix. He says, "I would have would had shot the coffee one slower." Which you shot it. You shot it wide open, was it? I can't remember.
Yeah, I have shot. I did shoot that. Shot that wide open, but that's correct. I'm wondering if it was that singular with the pot of coffee in it.
Right.
Totally correct. Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. And yes, there you go. A couple images up,
Yeah.
and
That's this one. Yeah.
yeah, and I think I might have mentioned that actually. So
Yeah,
that's where
you
I
did.
was a
Yeah,
little,
she did. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, a little overzealous with the big aperture
Well,
there.
he
You
agrees with you.
know, yeah, but I do agree, and I should have, so that I can get sort of what's going on around that. You can see the condensation going on
Right.
around that.
Right. Right.
It would have been good had I done that. So yeah, 100% agree. Yeah,
Well, there we are. We have some
yeah,
accord. All right, next image. Let's see if I can get back into full screen.
yeah.
Is that
No
showing
problem.
up, by the way?
It
The
is.
bee? Okay, good. All right.
It is.
We
And
have one of my daughter's favorite creatures, so tell us about this.
so once again, this is shot with my travel lens. This is that 14 to 140
Yeah, yeah.
travel lens that I have,
Do
and
everything.
yeah, it just does everything. And this is at 46 millimeters and micro four thirds, so 92 in full
Mm,
frame. And
mm,
this is f 5.6. So I'm
yeah.
I'm zoomed in. So what for the amateur photographers out there, or the hobbyists out there that may not understand, when you have that zoom lens,
Yep.
and it captures that separation differently,
Yep.
that depth of the field differently.
Yep.
So um, at that focal length, at that f-stop, I'm doing good. I'm fine. I know what this lens is going to do, so I can
Yeah.
zoom in for situations like this,
Mm.
and it delivers images like this, and I like it. I
Zoom in a
feel
little bit
like
here.
this background would be very,
Yeah.
very distracting had it been like a lot more in focus. And I
Well,
would just want this little.
it's interesting actually. Sorry to block you out there, but it's interesting here. The way the background is actually drawn, it almost looks like a watercolor in the background. It's some lenses do this. I know that you didn't like blur this in a weird way. It's incredible. It looks like a watercolor background. Yeah, you're right. It seems to be a lot of only budget lenses or that sort of lens does it that way. There's
Yeah,
some, if you get like a constant f2.8 zoom, they tend to be, they're not going to be as smooth, but they tend to be a little bit more like a wide angle or like a prime, a little bit
yeah,
more. But these ones, man,
yeah,
they have a very interesting way of doing it. That's very
yeah.
interesting.
And it's interesting too, because there's a lot of talk about you need this lens or you need that
Yeah.
lens, and I genuinely feel like you can achieve a lot with a lot less.
Yep.
And I've had this lens for years, and I don't want it to like break or go away. Like if I could choose a lens if I'm going to go to Egypt for
Yeah.
a week, and shoot
Yeah.
on assignment, this is the lens I'm going to take. And because it can achieve things like this.
They can do
So
everything. Yeah.
anyway,
Oh, that's a cool lens. Yeah, I'm liking that lens too. Okay, we're back
all
to
right,
is this
we're
also
back.
Asakusa or no, sorry, Shu, whatever that one was with the pub?
I think this might be in Kanda. So
Kanda,
this
okay.
is for people that are interested in Tokyo, the Tokyo Station.
Hmm.
This is sort of one stop north of that. It's a little area that has a lot of eateries and cool nightlife.
Yeah, yeah.
Sort of small, concentrated, but pretty cool area. Lots of cool
Hmm.
neon.
Hmm.
But this is with my 15 millimeter at 1.7, 1/100th at
It's great.
ISO 200. So once again, I'm sort of using this weird daytime setting, but it works at night because my focal point gives me the light I need, and I'm looking for that separation. And it's just got this this cool bokeh that is 100% on point for me, you know?
Yeah. Well, I got it's just the image just works. I mean, you got the slant of these chochin. I think that's what they're called, chochins, going this way, and then you got an equal slant of the lights in the background. Essentially, if you really look at it, you have the neons in the background basically making a triangle here, and in between you got the chochins going back, and then you got this piece of metal at the top. It's I don't know. It's as an image, it just works, and the bouquet is it's nice
Thank you
bouquet.
very much. Thank you very much. Okay, so I think we're actually going into, once again, that travel lens,
Mm,
that 14 to 140 travel lens that I've been
right.
talking about. And
Yeah.
this is purely, I'm shooting a 1/125th of a second at ISO
Mm,
100.
mm.
And when I zoom in, that aperture is a variable, so the aperture changes when I zoom
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
And this is an f4.7,
yeah.
which is so random, but at the same time, like, this is in the middle of the day,
Yeah, yeah.
and there's just amazing, amazing circular
Mm,
bits there
mm,
that this lens, I feel like it's very underrated.
mm,
And I think a lot of people are missing out,
mm.
um, because this lens really delivers, and I'm really, really happy with what's going on here. um, you know yeah, so anyway,
Well,
this is an
the
old Edo Park in
hmm,
Tokyo here. It's a vintage bus that I'm shooting the grill on.
hmm. I've never been there, but I've seen some old vintage buses, and they're great. I actually, we're never going to live in a world where we see those things working again. I guess maybe Cuba or something like that might be like that. But
Yeah, right.
dude, the bokeh on this one also is I'm getting that in the focused areas are like sharp and contrasting. The out of focused areas, it's like in a good way they lose the contrast in a way that like some of these primes don't, and it's equal parts because there's a lot of small balls all over the place,
Yeah.
equal parts in some way distracting, but at the same time it's like because it's so low contrast compared to everything else, it's like I don't know, it's an interesting way to draw attention right into what I should be looking at, and it's cool. That's
Yeah.
a cool bokeh. I like that.
Thanks. And yeah, so I
Oh,
probably
sorry.
could have zoomed out a little bit to show exactly kind of like what the setting is, but by me talking about it, it sort of
All
puts
right,
it
come
into
on, you wanted to
perspective.
take this, and that's cool. I like that.
Thanks. Okay, so this is basically somebody goes around the sort of the
Hmm,
glass in
hmm,
Tokyo here, and
yeah,
writes this graffiti and maybe soap or something like that.
yeah,
So this is all over the place.
huh,
Wherever I go, I see this going on. So basically, this is on glass. Somebody has gone on and done their graffiti with
hmm,
once again, like maybe shaving cream or soap or something. And so anyway. Um, you can see, like, on the sort of the middle upper mid,
hmm,
you can see that it is dirty and there's glass, but
hmm.
the separation is different. The separation is weird because it is glass, but um, I just I feel like it's this weird, interesting, plain. Um, I can literally just go out and achieve this with
Hmm.
this lens. This is the 15 millimeter.
Yeah.
Once again, 1.7, 1/25th,
Hmm.
ISO 100. So
You
I'm
shot it
literally
at
like using,
1/25th. 1
yeah,
over 125 or 1 over 25?
1/125th, so
Okay.
125. So
Okay.
like daytime settings,
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
your
just very, very
daytime
interesting.
study, yeah.
So
Hmm. All
weird.
right. Yeah, again, that lens it's proven its metal. It's proven its metal. It's also kind of this is an image, in terms of just the image, not the image like like criticizing or whatever the way you took it, but it's one of those things, unfortunately, where you can see the same image. Like it's now you go to Berlin, you go to Toronto, you go to
Yeah,
Tokyo, and it's the same.
yeah,
All those cities are starting to look a lot more alike. So
yeah.
this is kind
You're
of an
right.
image. I bet you someone somewhere will find a soap graffiti in Berlin, and they'll
You
be like,
bet. You bet.
"Hey, yeah,
No, yeah, totally.
ooh,
All right. So this is
foreground."
literally one of my favorite parts of
Hmm,
Shibuya, and this is an old sort of a strip tease or stripper club um, in Shibuya, and This was once again shot with a 15 millimeter at 1.7, 120,
Mm.
125th at
Mm.
ISO 125.
Mm.
So I'm metering it for those lights in the middle and those lights in the neon, what's going on in my focal point. So to me, I've seen this sign shot hundreds of times. I cannot tell you how many times I go to Instagram and I see this. I
This is a
see a
famous spot,
similar,
in other words.
yeah, a similar shot.
Okay.
You know, people are fixed on looking up at the sign. People are, you know, shooting this, that, and the other. But it was important for me to like really shoot it differently. So sort of stepping back into the next business behind it, where
Right.
they have, you know, they've got their lanterns.
Right.
So I stepped back there.
You're on the other side of the street.
Yeah. It wasn't this shot wasn't really about the height of the sign. This shot was just about the composition and you know, just sort of doing it differently. There's a whole sensibility about this shot that is 100% wanting to do it differently than everybody else out there. And so the bokeh that you're seeing is unlike many that we've sort of been talking about this evening. It was just making sure that I had really, really good separation. And I think it did a good job. You know, I probably could have edited it a little bit better. We've got that really bright white on the left.
Right.
I probably could have edited it so that you don't see that harsh white line. I probably could have the highlights probably could have been a little softer there. So regardless, you know, my aim was to shoot differently.
If Phoenix chimes in, then we'll know, because he'll be like that brightness or something like that. So yeah,
that's right. You know what? I'm going to send you I'll do another edit of this shot, and we'll do a little comparison offline.
Fair enough. And this one, it's hard to talk about the bokeh, of course, because foreground bokeh is something that's I don't even know how to like I don't have the vocabulary for it, to be quite honest, and because it's foreground, you don't get a lot of if it's background, things that you know the shape of are blurred to infinity, so they usually just become balls. But in foreground, it's almost impossible to do that unless you're focusing something very far away and you're very close to the thing. And so these ones with they're just defocused, and it's like, okay, it's just a neutral image, and it's an atmosphere shot. Atmosphere shot.
You know, and I think maybe, you know, part of the thing too is like, you know, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't highlight, you know, those orbs and those gumdrops and things, but at the same time, you know, it is bokeh in a sense. So anyway, onward.
Yeah. Also, you got the Dutch angle there, and it's looking at a strip thing, and depending on who you are and what type of like personality you represent, you'd be like, the Dutch angle is usually shown in movies, at least, to show that something's off. And of course, it's looking at a strip show. And so if you're a person that's like, this is degenerate culture, then it would be like, you have basically an essay opinion on that in the shot. And that's kind of the cool thing about one of the cool things about photography. Also, by the way, Martin Webb, I've seen you before. It's nice to see you here. Greetings from Izumo. Where is Izumo? I don't remember this. I should know this. Somewhere in Japan. Sounds like somewhere in Japan. Greetings from Scuba.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, let's check out the next image.
All right, let's do it.
Wait, do we have a next image? Oh, that's it from you.
That's it.
Those are all the images from Jason. Well, Jason, thank you very much for doing the first one. I think I have fewer images, and I'll try to because I didn't do my homework as well as you did with all the EXIF. I'm sorry, man.
No worries. You know, I just really glad that, you know, we can talk about, you know, our photographic eye and our gear and how it delivers.
We'll see if I can remember anything properly about them. I'm going to open up my images now. They're from let's see. Wait,
see, what people don't know is I'm cheating. I'm just I'm scrolling back and forth to my Adobe Bridge that's got my, you know, metadata lined up on the side, you know.
Well, I didn't do what I was supposed to do, and I apologize for that. So I do remember, basically, I remember the lens and the camera and the apertures at certain points. And let's see, just a moment. Let me do beautiful. The same thing and go to full screen. All right, so I remember this is my, I had for a little while a Sony A7R, which was the first full frame mirrorless camera that anyone ever made. And I used it for my business, which is behind me. Again, this is my studio. And this is not part of my business, although I have a feeling if I would have tilted that a bit different, this could have been an actual product shot for this cafe, this cafe, beautiful place in Nagarayama, which is, edge of Tokyo. And they had this cafe in the middle of an old Japanese storehouse. So it's like these big ones that are made out of like, I don't know, the walls are like this thick, and they're beautiful storehouses. A lot of people are not using them for storehouses anymore. And so they convert them. And this one up at the top, you would have liked it, is a photo gallery, and at the bottom is a beautiful little cafe. And so my wife and I went in there just on one of our walks, and we enjoyed some of the food. Actually, we came back later on because I had an earphone shoot for a company called Noble Audio, and they kind of liked the vibe of it. And so I had a model come in, and she wore the earphones and was eating some stuff, and she got free food. She got free food. That's nice. All right. Yeah.
You're like, wait, let me shoot your food.
Oh, and the lens. It's a $50 Nikon 50mm AI-K converted for S. So this isn't the higher end AIS version, but it was converted so you can use it on a digital camera without like the Nikons. They have like, they've got these little bunny ear things, and with the bunny ear things, by the way, I'm not English, so I wasn't trying to flip off the camera, so maybe I'll do it like this. They've got these little bunny ear things on the film cameras, and you move that and it changes the aperture. But this one, there's something that made it not work with some digital cameras, but this one was a converted one. This is a sharp 50, but it has beautiful bokeh. So yeah, that's my first one. Next image. This is my wife.
Oh, look at that.
With a little necklace. Same lens and same, literally sitting at the same table, just looking across at my wife's necklace. So.
Well, you're looking at something here. These polka dots really make it, they're generating their own sort of orbs, but it's cool to see those highlights on her sleeve on the right.
Right. Yeah, there was like what are those sliding shutter style curtains? And so the light invariably came in and was blocked, came in, it was blocked, and it created beautiful. I mean, I'm not the artist that some other people are, have the artistic eye or whatever, but just the light was just so. You gotta go there. If I find out where it is, if it's still open, I'll send you a link because I think you and your wife would like it.
Yeah, right on. But you know what? I feel like this is a really great piece. This is a really great advertisement, actually, because I'm a jeweler and I need to sell my necklace. And so what this does, this shows like this woman wearing this really nice piece, this really nice dress, and she's got our necklace on. So to me, this is great.
Okay, this lens. Again, it's about $50. AI. It's not the AI. It's AIK. I guess 52. It's the one that no one talks about, but the people that know it are like, it was Nikon's sharpest 50. It's also one of them with the best out of focus elements. So, what did I shoot it at? I'm guessing f2. Sorry, man.
That's all right.
Yeah.
This is great.
Table tennis. Little kids table tennis and the mummy or papa's table tennis bat. So
okay, that's cool. And once again, you're hitting on my love of textures. Man, this is really cool. The separation on here is so soft. And what lens is this?
This is one of the ones where I forgot. Dude, I'm sorry. These were all lenses that didn't have. There's no EXIF because they're just dumb. They're lenses from the 60s or 70s. So
yeah.
The other ones, by the way, that last one I did, I recorded separately. The camera didn't see the camera. Also, the EXIF. Another thing to sort of pardon me here. The other thing is the camera didn't know what aperture it was. It didn't even guess. So
interesting.
and this one was on the D800. Wait, no, D200. Sorry, and this is actually, I believe, is the 105 2.5. But I don't know. You know what? It can't be, because it looks like I'm really up in there. You know, if it was a 105, it'd be, no. This might be the 28 2.8. I don't know, because XIF, there's no XIF for, there's no XIF totally for it. Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's it. I actually love this. And once again, going back to the technical side, man, it's like all these angles, everything's just so on point for me. This is like a super cool photo.
This is, I think, the only image I ever sold on a stock, or one of the only images. I signed up for one of those stock things, and I think this one and one other image after 10 years is the only one I ever sold. So someone else liked it.
Awesome.
Let's see. This is a tilt shift image from an actual tilt shift lens. When I started to get into product photography, I was using macro lenses, and then I was also using extension tubes with a 50mm lens, and it would get really sharp. But then, as you know, if you're taking something up close, eventually you need to stop down to f16 and use a lot of light, or a tilt shift lens. Now I'm using it in the opposite way. I'm tilting the lens up like this, so that the focal length, the point of focus is very small. It's probably just in not the first walker, but the second walker. So it's just under his feet somewhere, or just a little bit in front of him. But the lens is tilted up like this, so everything else is just kind of like shifted out. But if you shift the other way, then this entire walkway would be in focus. And you could do that at f2.8. And that's how I got into using bellows and stuff for... Let me just get my bellows for just a second. Just a second here. Just give me a second. All right. So I'm gonna shift the lens here. So I started with tilt shift lenses. They're really expensive. Of course, bellows are not cheap either, but they allow you to get everything in focus, or to do the opposite, all in one lens. And they're generally fast aperture, so f2.8. Some are f3 and some f3.5, some are f4, so they're generally fast. But I eventually shifted to this. This is Novaflex, and you can basically do the same thing. So you tilt it like that, tilt up, and that would make it so that, like what's doing there, and then tilt down, and that would make everything, if you're shooting like this, everything would be in focus. And it also shifts quite a bit, like you can see in the back here. Let me see if I can. I'm not sure you can see it move. If you see it move, it can shift 10mm in either direction. So can the front. And it's a very, very solid focus system. In fact, I haven't done the review of it yet, but this is a great lens. And the back also tilts. So it's a tilt shift. It's called the TS, the Ball Pro TS. I really highly recommend it. It's got one of the best focus. I'm just trying to line it back up here. Just a moment. Where's the brake? There's the brake. And the focus is just is really solid on it. Really tight. You can do replicable stuff, replicable photographs all the time. But yeah, I got into it from using a tilt shift lens, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, I haven't looked back. So, all right. Next image. I don't have quite as many, but wait, I gotta go back to the window. Let's see here. Next one. That's my daughter. I showed off my daughter. We're in New Zealand, so I don't think any of these images have any. I don't think I adjusted the color or anything like that. So these are kind of out of camera, like whatever Lightroom saw out of the raw file.
That's great.
New Zealand's parks are incredible. They have lots of trees, lots of beautiful grass. Kids go barefoot all the time. And then there's like this. Almost everyone we went to had farming equipment that was no longer used. And the kids just love to play on it. And my daughter
that's cool.
Loves to look angry or whatever she's doing. Or look like I'm doing something important.
I'm in charge.
Yeah. So
get out of the way of my tractor, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she was running me over right here. And this was this is wide open with the, you might like it. It's a Voigtländer 35 1.7. It's an spherical lens, so you will see some onions here and there. And the bokeh, depending on the distance, either explodes out of the center or is quite round, kind of going out.
Awesome.
But it's a beautiful lens, 35. I think you would like it, at least for the focal length and the aperture, and it's beautiful lens.
I'm definitely in the market for one of those for my Leica. I need that focal length. I actually love Voigtlander products. So yeah. So
that's the only lens
cool.
I took to New Zealand when we went. I did a video about New Zealand, but it was, you know, through the eyes of that lens. And that lens, there's nothing except for just the focus ring being very narrow and it's hard scalloped. So, but if you use it a lot, you'll get calluses on your fingers. But I don't see a problem with that. It's a great lens. Great lens.
Cool.
Koshina, you done good.
I like that.
And it's from the same lens. Looking at, I thought this was New Zealand. It might actually also be right here in Tsukuba, Japan. But it's just, it's the intro to this video. Just a big tree in our local park. Yeah.
And that's the Voigtlander?
Yep, that's the Voigtlander, 35 1.7.
Looks so beautiful. You know, there's just such a heavy argument going on with you know, this Leica community or whoever. It's like, look, if you're going to spend $4,000 on the camera, you better get like Leica glass. Well, can I just say, images like this show me that I don't need a $4,000 lens to achieve beautiful works like this.
You know, there's one thing I might say to that. My favorite bokeh lens of all time is actually a Leica. It's the basically every 50 Zoomilux from 1959 on use the same, except not the spherical one. The spherical one, the bokeh is beautiful, but it's so neutral that it's like every image is like, okay, that's great, but it's so neutral. I don't even know what to. But the Zoomilux before that, unfortunately, they are expensive now. When I first looked at them, they were about $1,000, and now, I mean, you're looking minimum price $2,000 for a 1960s lens. You know,
we'll talk, because I'm not going to remember this, but you know, I would like to, you know, find a Zoomilux one of these days.
Anyway, the 50 1.4
not in the market right now. I'll stick with my Voigtlanders.
They are precious. Of course, back in, you know, between 2014 and 2018, before the earphone market suddenly went all Chinese and no one had any money to pay photographers, I was I had money for Leica. So anyway,
there it is.
Also New Zealand. This is my daughter again. The color straight out of camera, so I think the color might have been a little bit different, but let me just show you, like, again, this is wide open, so 1.7. Just check out how sharp this lens is. Look at that.
That is really great.
This isn't I think I downsized. Did I downsize? I might not have downsized this, but I mean, it's like it's actually almost like that's bordering on too sharp. I checked the Leica file. There's no sharpening applied to it, and I nailed the focus. She's enjoying playing at one of these beautiful, incredible New Zealand parks. So
yeah, that's awesome. And what camera were you using?
This is the M10.
Okay, great.
I had the M10 back then. Yeah, I don't anymore. Yeah,
very nice. Wow.
Yeah, that Voigtlander it's beautiful, man. I see it in your future. I see it in your future.
I see it in my future too.
And you'll notice in none of these images, I've never noticed in sort of slightly out of focus elements any sort of like purple fringing or anything like that. Now, I don't want to get too technical. I don't usually bother about that much, but some people do. It's just the Voigtlander 35 1.7, which has been superseded, is just amazing.
Yeah, it's actually a problem on my Panasonics. The fringing is not up to my. It kind of sucks, but regardless, yeah.
Well, the lens I have on this Fujifilm is really bad for that too, but not for live streaming. So, all right, next one. It's I am married to a local, and of course, there's my daughter wearing that shirt that looks like it's got a bow on. And what I like about this image is it shows, you know, from a medium distance. Again, this is wide open. Again, it's with the same camera. It shows the flare, the nice flare, how it softens the image a bit, and just how things far away in the distance kind of go to focus. Of course, it's a wide angle. It's not super wide, but This lens is just
And you were talking tonight about how you've got these rays coming in, and
yep,
you've got these different if the blades matter as
yep,
far as
yep,
what kind of rays are coming in. Like
right.
what's going on here with that?
Well, this is wide open, so you're not going to see like this lens, I believe, has 10 aperture blades. So if you were to stop down to f2.8 or to 4, you'd get 10 very sharp, quite beautiful sun rays. But this one's wide open, so you get kind of a blur going on, which will soften everything. Otherwise, it would be, you'd see a star coming out of there. So
Yeah.
yeah. This lens I liked so much wide open that I think, except for landscape shots, I basically shot wide open. So
That's awesome.
I just got a couple more images. Let's see here. Oh, this is
Wow.
there's no bokeh. There's no bokeh in this one. What? How did this get there? This is actually a landscape. Okay, listen, I'm going to cheat here. I'm sorry about this. This is a landscape shot at like f11. It's actually panorama stitched together, so there's no bokeh. This got in here. It's not supposed to be here. Sorry about that. But let's just see it. I think it's panorama. So you can go pretty far in there and still get lots of detail. And that 24 megapixel sensor is good. Yeah, anyway, this is not okay. Let's scoot on because that's not bokeh image. Okay, again, same park. 35. Man, I just chose the 35 millimeter lenses. The images from this thing.
That's good.
My daughter, of course, as a dad, basically all you shoot before you have a kid or kids, all you shoot is your wife, and after you have kids, you shoot.
All right,
kids.
can I just interject here?
Yeah.
My daughter just turned 19.
19.
So you're in for it, all right?
Yeah.
You're just enjoy these times because
how many kids have you right now?
Just one. That's all I need.
Okay, so 19. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it and not looking forward to it. I mean, I can't imagine. People are like, 2 years old is the cutest, or 1 year old is the cutest.
For
and now
sure, man.
She's 6, and the things she does now and how we interact, I find more cute, and just every year is just better.
Right on. That's cool. It makes for great photos. I'll tell you that for sure. No, it's true.
And this one is a cheat. This one's a cheat. I didn't take this. My wife took this, and this is in Sweden. I took her to see where I was born back in 2011, and this is actually Stockholm in an old section of town called a real Swede, a Swede who's spoken Swedish all his life. And that's how you say it. This Gamla stan, which is like the old town, and I've forgotten my Swedish basically. So, but it's got still the old cobbles that have been there from hundreds of years.
Love it.
And
there's something to be said about purposefully shooting things out of focus, because you get to see what this lens is made of. And I 100% totally am with that. And there's something delightful about being able to just see this image in a different way. I'm looking at those beautiful lights down there. It's really nice. Is this with the Voigtlander as well?
Okay. So sorry, let me say this. She took this wide open on a Nikon D90, which was a camera from 2009. It's an APS-C with the 35 1.4 or 1.8, sorry, which was kind of like the fast aperture that Nikon ever released from a normal lens in their APS-C lineup. It's a great lens, quite inexpensive as well. I think it's about $100 to $200, and it's a great lens.
Job.
Yeah.
It does.
And my wife she's a better photographer than I am for this sort of thing. But I've looked at her images. She doesn't take as many as I do, but sorting through the images she took overall, I prefer her images to mine almost.
She's like, I would say I don't need to take as many images.
Yeah, she beat me there. Yeah. And this is
nice.
Wow. This is from my Bible school, actually. This is also Sweden. This is taken with a 180 millimeter lens. The 180 2.8 AIS. It's an old lens. Well, from the 80s or late 70s, sorry. And it was also on the Nikon D200. So it's cropped away in there. And these guys are watching some people play football just on the side. And these guys, this is 2011, so these guys are all in their 30s now. So
What's interesting about this shot is that they appear to be sitting fairly close, right? And can
I'm
I
far
just
away though.
say,
Yeah.
the separation with this lens and this aperture is amazing.
That lens is an incredible lens, by the way. It is an incredible lens. The bokeh is not only incredible, it's sharp. There's fine. There's some purple flaring here and there, but it's a lens that's 40 years old or 50 years old. I can't remember. And the focus is great. The flare is good. I think it's got
Yeah.
seven aperture blades, so you get 14 sun stars or whatever, sun rays or whatever. It's a great lens. It's a great lens.
I love what's going on here. I kind of want to figure out how to get one.
Yeah, and they're not too expensive. They're not cheap though. You're looking at between 200 and 500 bucks for it. So
Cool.
yeah, they get cheaper all the time. By the way, there's millions of them made, or hundreds of
Yeah,
thousands of them
right.
made. So, and people aren't as excited. In the early mirrorless days, those old lenses were going up in price. But
Oh
now I
yeah,
think
I'm
people
sure.
have gotten out of their system to use manual lenses, so
Yeah,
they're
right.
going down in price again.
Awesome.
Also from Sweden, this is the 105 2.5 from Nikon.
Mm.
Shot wide open on the D200. It's just a tricycle that someone had left out in their yard, very close to my Bible school. It's a city, it's a small village called Hosbybrunn, which is in the southern Sweden. 800 people, farmland on this side, and then like new housing projects on the other side where all the immigrants are coming in.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Nice and soft transition there.
That lens is legendary for good reasons. It's
legendary.
Well, it is. It was the 85 millimeter version of it. There's two versions. You're like, what? How's there two versions of two different? They're two lenses, same optical formula. One at 105, one at 85, and the 85 is f2, and the 105 is f2.5. Which
I see.
Basically, if you take the 85 and you do it at 105, it becomes 2.5. And the 85-2 is the one that I can't remember the name of the photographer. He took the Afghan girl that was on the cover of Time.
Yes, love that.
So this is the 105 version of that lens. It's a great lens.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I haven't. Oh, I've got one more image. This is also
this is great too.
This was a friend of ours, German friend. Didn't get her. I'm not on Facebook, so I can't get her permission. Whatever. A friend of ours. She wanted to take us to take some commemorative full photographs. This is again Bible school in Sweden, and the reason why I chose this image is because it shows that 105 lens showing both foreground bokeh and background bokeh, and just how soft both are.
So
now.
good.
Yeah. And the color is incredible as well.
Yeah. And now, people, like, if there are people who are amateurs watching this, they can understand why portrait photographers use lenses with a longer focal length, 80, 85, and 90, 100, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
It's because of things like this.
I was still an amateur at this time. I was just a hobby photographer. It was the next year that I got hired at a studio. So there's some things I would do differently now, but that lens, I don't know, that lens, it just nails colors and everything else.
It's good, man.
It's good. Amazing. Yeah. All right, let's see. Oh, and that's it from me. Looks like, I think that's it from me. Yeah. Let me just close this bad boy down.
Well, I definitely I like talking about things that I actually don't think about very often.
Yeah.
Because like I was saying earlier, like I just sort of receive what I'm given with my lenses. And I'm actually, when purchasing all my gear, I'm thinking about focal length.
Yeah.
And really the first lens that I had was that travel lens, that 14 to 140.
Right.
That's the one that I had. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going with this Leica branded, 25 millimeter 1.4, and it was great. I shot everything, when I first moved into Japan. I was shooting that, and I'd go to Shimbashi, I'd go to all these crazy Izakaya, parts of town, and I was like laying it in thick with this lens. And then I was like, oh, I want something a little smaller,
but
wider. So I went with the 20. And then what happened was I like the 20, but I actually just wanted to go wider.
Hmm.
And that Leica branded 15 millimeter for the Panasonic, man, it just hits the mark for me. And I sort of, I don't want to say frown on, skeptics or haters of the wide angle lens, but for me, I like getting in close. I like being able to achieve that separation, and that
Right.
15
Right.
millimeter for the Micro Four Thirds, man, it just hits the mark. And
Hmm.
I appreciate you, like, letting me roll through all these images, and sort of what I'm talking about. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, like, listen, there's a million takes on bokeh, and I think the reason why I titled this stream "Bokeh Matters" is because you can take it two different ways. Bokeh is
Yeah.
important, and we haven't done the definitive talk about bokeh, but there's also like the matters about bokeh, like what the type of like the type of softness that the bokeh introduces, the type of fall off the lens introduces. There's a lot of things about bokeh. There's a lot to talk about, and a lot of people, if you're on the camera forums, like I said early on, when people talk about bokeh, they're not often using language in the superlative. They're like, well, bokeh is, if you focus on bokeh, you're, but it's just, yeah, I love bokeh, and it
Yeah, I
matters to
think
me, but there's a lot of matters about it that are just hard to put into words.
Yeah, I think that one shot of the little girl, um, with the
Mm,
sort of, the
mm,
headdress, the hairpiece on,
yeah,
that was an interesting discovery, actually, when you asked me to find things, because I don't go to that lens for, my
yeah,
bokeh. I don't go to that for that. But when I saw that, I was like, man, this lens actually rocks.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm gonna try to achieve more of this. So thanks for the, sort of the nudge. Sort of once again, it's sort of like the, uh, it's this sort of unspoken like nudge. So I can now, thinking back on it, I can actually rely on that, mid-level travel lens to achieve
Hmm.
quite a lot.
Yeah, well, like I said, I really appreciate it. That was out of all the images that I saw from that lens, that was the one that was like, man, the bokeh is good on this one.
Yeah, right
Um,
on. Thanks.
and the other ones, I mean, where it turned things painterly, as they say, in
Mm,
an impressionistic manner, I really appreciated it. Well, it was cool.
it's fun.
Among yours, I gotta agree with you. That 15 is just that thing is pretty striking as well. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. We'll actually get together and one
yeah,
day, like, and we can like talk about this, like, mano y mano,
yeah,
like
yeah,
in the not in the digital sense, in the
yeah,
analog sense. And
yeah.
it's an interesting piece of gear, and I actually haven't, aside from that macro lens I was telling you about last week.
Right, right.
Um, I use that for only one reason, and one specific reason. But beside from that lens, that 15 was the last lens I bought. And to tell you the truth, I don't need any more, man.
Hmm.
That gear acquisition syndrome is gone.
No more gas for you.
The 15 sealed the deal.
Hmm. No, that
Yeah.
that's good. I when I had like super duper loads of income that I didn't know what to do with. No, I spent it on my business. I spent it on my business, and I think that's good. But I went through, man. I basically used the same lenses for all my photography for the last 5 years, but it took me a
Mm,
long time business wise to settle on the 80 millimeter f.4 from Shinneron, the 100 f4 from Shinneron, and then later on the 120 from Schneider, which best macro lens I've ever used,
mm,
and also a fit. Like they're all macro lenses. They're all macro lenses. Basically, what I use for my business. But I went through a lot of different. I would say probably, I'm guessing 10 different lenses, and I settled on those four, and they. I use them all. The 80 and the 100. It's like they're very close, but there's subtle differences that are necessary between them. And the 120 for absolute one-to-one perfect reproduction, that's the one I want. Um,
mm.
yeah, I mean lenses are complicated things, but they really if you know how to use them and you respect them, they return great results.
Yeah. I appreciate our discussion. I appreciate the fact that you and I can understand that sort of the artistic sense of it, but the technical sense of it, and what goes into it all. And I actually look forward to talking a little bit more about um, why I should be using macro more. So
Well,
we'll get into that.
We will do macro. Let's just right before we sign off, let's just see if there's any questions from the audience. If anyone's got any questions, any of you that are watching or that are not watching, send us questions now for the next let's say 3 minutes, and we will answer them. If there is only one, then we will just answer that one. Here from Black Phoenix, I would love to show some of my photos to you guys, kind of like both portfolios. I would like your opinions. Well, I don't know how that would be, how we would ever be able to do that. If Black Phoenix, if you're from Telegram, then perhaps you could approach me on Telegram. If you're not, and you are from YouTube, then maybe I think on my YouTube channel there's a link to my webpage, which there's a link to my email address. You can email me about it, and we can see, because I think that StreamYard does allow more than one guest. I think. I'm not sure. I've only ever seen it done with one, but we can see about that. And later on, I'd be interested in, or even us, just like if you sent some photos, and then Jason and I could talk about them as well. I think. I'm not sure about bringing someone in that we don't know, but for sure, if you want to send in some images, that would be cool.
Yeah, email it to us, and you can send them to Nathan. You can send them to me, contact@shutteradvance.com, and send them to Nathan as well. Check out his website, see his amazing photos. His product photography blows me away. So anyway, drop some images to him, and then he and I can go back and forth about them. And I think it's just important for people that maybe want advice to just get it out there. And I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, well, and if that's, well, I'm just gonna sip the last of this thing here, and whilst I'm doing that, if there's any questions, if there's any last question, please say it. But otherwise, Jason, just a moment.
Prost.
Thank you. Prost. Yeah, thank you very much for doing the bokeh thing.
Yeah, I look forward to getting together. If not next week, soon thereafter. And please, let's do this again, and hopefully we'll have some more people commenting, and just get it on. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. It's a late one, but you have a good night, and
you as well.
Let's do this soon time for everyone else. Just so you know, Jason and I are thinking about doing this long term. We're starting off as we are, in the sort of form that we are, but as we go, we'll learn from each other and from all of you how to go forward. So look forward to this guy and myself having more chats about this.
Same. Thank you so much. We'll talk to everybody later.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.